Hello again. Today we're going to try and work out why an electric vehicle varies in range and efficiency across journeys. As you know, I took a trip from Sydney all the way up to Darwin, firstly through Queensland and then back through South Australia. And this is across a wide variety of road types, temperatures, different loads, different people in the car at various times. And so we can look at this data and work out if there's any pattern to predicting what the range will be. So let's get into it. This is a graph of my watt hours per kilometre through various parts of the journey. As you can see on the bottom of this graph, that sort of highlights whereabouts in Australia it was. So starting off at Sydney, through to Darwin, and then back down to Sydney. There's watt hours per mile on the left side, so people who think in miles can look at that. And as you can see, it varied a lot through the trip. There's quite a big variation there between 20% and 30%. But a couple of the big peaks can be explained. The first one is very heavy rain coming out of Sydney, and the second one is travelling at 130 kilometres an hour in the Northern Territory. So let's exclude those two. Let's first take a look at whether weight makes a difference. So for the first part of the journey, there was one person plus luggage, let's say 150 kilos. And then middle part of the journey, there was two people plus luggage, about 230 kilos. And there's no real correlation to energy used at all. So I think weight, especially in that sort of adding 100 kilos or so, makes very little difference. Next, let's look at temperature. Obviously it got warmer as we got further north, but again, there's not a lot of correlation between temperature and energy usage, mainly because we're in sort of a fairly temperate temperature zone between, say, 15 degrees to at most 35, so it wasn't like it's freezing cold or super hot. Next thing we can overlay is average travelling speed. So that does have some correlation. So as you can see, sitting at 100 kilometers an hour through the middle part was quite low. Whenever we increase the speed a lot, it sort of increased that watt hour usage a bit. So speed is a contributor, especially when you hit those high speeds at about 130. But there must be something else, and my theory is that it might be road conditions. In Australia, there's two types of bitumen. There's what's called Chipseal, which is, as you can see on the screen, is where you lay down a hot bit of bitumen and then you overlay some stones onto that, spread some stones on top of that, and then you roll them in. This is a way of making cheap roads, and it's widely used in the country areas of Australia, especially through Queensland and Northern Territory. And it's a good way of making a cheap road. It's why you get all your stone chips on your car window, because not all stones get stuck into the bitumen. Another way of producing roads is asphalt. This is where you mix bitumen and small rocks together before laying, and then you run them through a machine which heats it up a lot and then sort of spreads it out into a really smooth road surface like this. Now, if we look at the road conditions as we travel up and down the country, you can see that there is a pretty strong correlation between where asphalt was used and where chipseal was used. And if you measure that combine that with speed, then you get a fairly good indication of where we're using our power. So it looks like chipseal probably reduces range by about 20% from these figures. So as you're leaving the major freeways of Australia and moving off asphalt to chipseal, you're going to get about a 10 to 20% reducing in range. Good to keep in mind when you're out in the outback. So a normal 500 kilometre range, which I can get sort of on the Hume Highway, drops down to about 440, maybe even 420 out in the country. So that's how I explain my range variation. I could be wrong. It could just be that the car is getting less efficient as it goes along. If you do a trend line, it's slowly increasing, but I don't think that's the case. I think chipseal is the biggest culprit in range when touring around Australia. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and go check out the rest of the trip videos over on my channel. Let me know what you think in the comments about road conditions, temperature, or anything else that might affect range. Thanks. Bye.